Hi there, and welcome to Apple World. It seems as though they're dabbing their eyes and crossing their teeth and becoming this. It's not just about the common regulations that have been recorded against them in the recent months alone. They're returning over 20 years in the past to recover a few additional casualties. The word in the roads is that they viewed it as a long, not insignificant rundown of little fellows, supposedly prepped for returning to the 90s and mid-2000s, and they pulled up with the receipts. The wild part about here is that Cat Williams has been attempting to tell us for quite a while, and it seems to be the federal authorities just demonstrated him right. Cat's been in Hollywood for over 30 years, and he has his ear to the ground, so you realize he knows all the soil on everyone in the business yet. For somebody who's been around that long, individuals generally say he ought to have been way more fruitful at this point, particularly since he has the ability to be a significant hotshot. Yet the thing is, his vocation has presumably been kept down since he doesn't keep down with regards to uncovering the obscure side of Hollywood, and y'all know how the business detests when individuals spill their insider facts, yet Cat doesn't mind cuz he's been over here spilling the tea on Diddy's ruin. Let me let you know it's messier than we of all time might have believed. Cat's around here saying Diddy has supposedly been preparing youthful craftsmen and even supposedly unaliving them to hold them back from talking, and the most insane part, Cat's been saying this stuff about Diddy for quite a long time. However, individuals truly weren't repaying any consideration then. At that point, we as a whole heard the bits of hearsay about how unusual Diddy may be. Nevertheless, we recently chalked it dependent upon him being hush lying about it and ripping off craftsmen by assuming acknowledgement for their work, and not it were obscure to pay them those things. Most certainly, particularly the piece of him ripping off his craftsmen, yet those weren't precisely criminal. Cassie's claims truly opened up about an unheard-of level of wreck. Diddy, she uncovered much more than just him being on the download tearing off his craftsmen. As per her, did he supposedly prepared her when she was endorsed to his name and treated her horribly for 11 entire years. She asserted he would genuinely hurt her, leaving her wounds all around her body, and surprisingly, more stunningly, she said he purportedly say her HED her out to factory companies and watched while they did likewise. Gassy was a hold the back, and it's just gotten more regrettable from that point and presently. With this becoming fully awake, however, individuals are beginning to recall the thing computer-aided design said about Diddy being supposed unseemly around youngsters. As you get my float, not many years back, Cat additionally implied that Diddy and JUSTNOW were engaged with some exceptionally wrecked stuff with the crisscross young men. Purportedly one of them went to medications to escape and unfortunately glut in 2013. Now, for those of you who probably won't recall the crisscross young men, for Chris Kelly and Chris Smith, two small children who detonated onto the scene in the mid-90s and became moment whizzes. They were, as it were, 12 and 13 years of age when they initially hit the spotlight. So like numerous kid stars in Hollywood, there's a foreboding shadow over their ascent, and who were proposed that they were casualties of, say, they were found by Jermaine Dupri, who made a different shape their music professions, yet concurring to Cat, it was in only their professions Dupri played at part in preparing. Crosswise dropped 3 collections under Jermaine Dupri's direction, and every one of them with platinum or better. They were madly fruitful, yet that achievement accompanied a weighty cost. Supposedly, both young men were supposedly attacked by Jermaine and his dear companion, Diddy, or Puff Daddy, as he was known in those days for the C. Williams. This supposed exposition is what in the long run drove Chris Kelly to drugs. His need might have arisen something to numb the agony he felt, caught knowing that Jermaine and Diddy grasped his vocation, leaving him with no chance to get out. His medication use spiraled throughout the long term, and by 2013 it was past the point of no return. H was far oblivious at his home in Atlanta and was hurried to the clinic. However, he passed, unfortunately, away 3 days after the fact. Interestingly, his family freely recognized his battles, uncovering that he had a broad history of medication utilized. Then Jermaine Dupri made an announcement about how shattered he was, and he said to the world, Chris was mama daddy. However, to me, he was a child I never had. As much as you may think I showed him, he showed me. God has favored me to be within the sight of such countless normally gifted individuals, and Chris was one. When I consider it, I invested more energy with Chris and Chris than dag close to anyone in my entire life, so you can envision how awful this damage is. However, as individuals began to sort out, he didn't actually know Chris that well in light of the fact that he didn't have a clue about a few fundamental things about him, like his age, and afterward, one of the individuals passes no, and not just later except for however years after the fact. Better Believe it, definitely, he passes at a generally youthful age. Was it 30-something? Better believe it. No doubt I suspect as much. Did you see that? Approaching at all, were you folks still in contact? No, I didn't see that approaching. We had quite recently did the 20th commemoration, so it was like Chris had been beyond reach of Jermaine for a while, in light of the fact that he would have rather not converse with him or even associate with him, however. Jermaine was around here behaving like they were still best friends, realizing beyond any doubt what he had done. Individuals additionally saw how Chris Kelly appeared to be so miserable and removed after he begun working with Jermaine and Diddy. At first, we just chatted up to the tensions of industry. Not thinking a lot of it yet, presently understanding what we know, it's really terrible to contemplate what he was going through purportedly. Not just was Jermaine engaged with paper, he likewise let the others in the business exploit Chris. There's even murmurs that Diddy and Jermaine had this wrecked course of action between them, where they'd pimp out their specialists to each other in their friend network. For example, there have been bits of hearsay that Diddy purportedly used to pimp out that individuals from his young lady bunch Den Kane that could make sense of why he was too continuously so fixated on them looking part wonderful, like he was more centered around their picture than their music or prosperity hurt him. And I'm giving you this, Aubrey. He sat up there and he said before a ton of individuals we were in the studio, and I expressed something to him, and left the studio, he said, yeah, I'm off and got them, and pee them out to my he expressed. I'm out. I'm get them generally on furthermore. I'm a pimp they're out to my I was like they're someone kids and left. Better believe it's completely wrecked up yet. Back to befuddle on the grounds that, as it turns out, they had their doubts about Jermaine from the second they met him. Their instinct let them know that something was off base, despite the fact that they were just 11 and 12 when they met him before they began cooperating in an old meeting. Chris Kelly said we were simply playing computer games in this shopping center in Atlanta, when out of nowhere this fella comes dependent upon us, and said that he'd like for us to work with them as rap performers. That fella ended up being Jermaine Dubry, Chris Smith, and Ed. We had no clue about who he was. As a matter of fact, I told Daddy that I thought the person was presumably a kid. Better believe it. He fundamentally checked out us, generally entertaining, and inquired as to whether we needed to rap. We were kids, so it was like asking us either to go to the everyday schedule to become enormous stars. Clearly, we picked the choice of gigantic stars. Better believe it. So essentially Jermaine just approached two kids at the ball and proposed to make them stars without knowing whether they might rap. That is exceptionally questionable and certainly emits unpleasant energies. All of this has persuaded individuals to think that Jermaine purportedly did some unspeakable things to them, yet as indicated by C. Williams, Diddy was not too far off in the Blend 2 in 2011 computer-aided design, even dropped a free form where he got down on a lot of individuals in the business. When it came to Diddy and Jermaine, he didn't simply toss out dubious shade. He had something very intended for, say regarding them. What's going on, Puff? I'll return to you if she's a kid a certain something about C. However, he gets straight to the point. What's more, he expresses it as it is, which makes the entire thing much more vile than you would think. However, it deteriorates in light of the fact that it was not the two as indicated by sources Diddy. One in particular that Jermaine was supposedly pimping the kid out to on the grounds that he moreover supposedly pimped him out to Jada Smith in 1993, she was catching with Chris Kelly from Mismatch Cross, was in the room, and he was like, Jada Ping is at the entryway. However, don't leave, take this weed, chill, we like damn gave us an ounce of weed, going kick it right here. Then he returned, he said, better believe it, that was Jaden Pinky. I'm similar to Jaden Pinking early in life, so seems to be Jaden could feel weak at the knees over youthful folks. It didn't simply begin with August Elena. Well, Chris Kelly was just 13 or 14 at the time, and Jay was 22. You all know this is wild. Those young men ought to have never gone. That's what threw that, and it's appalling that the very individuals who were assumed to safeguard them are totally fizzled as per cat he trusts. Diddy and Jermaine JPRI are in a roundabout way liable for Chris Kelly's passing, since they're the ones who will set him on the way to drugs in the first place. Cat supposes if not for the injury Diddy and Jermaine put him through, Chris Kelly would in any case be here today presently. While Chris might have been one of Diddy's supposed first casualties, he most certainly wasn't the last. Over the years, there have been a few reports of Audie doing some obscure stuff with youthful young men, some of whom he either hit on them or, on the other hand, put them in super awkward circumstances, and we can't disregard Gene Bargan, Diddy's sex protector, who's essentially a walk-in teapot when it comes to spilling every one of the subtleties of Diddy. Subscribe Apple World for more videos.